This is it. This is the day.
The day is here. We're buying her.
We're buying a boat. We're just about to go to the bank to get a bank draft for the money for the boat. And then we're gonna drive over to the owner and buy the boat.
Sign the papers. Here we come. We did end up buying that boat. It is absolutely the perfect boat that we could have asked for. And thankfully, we are pretty happy with our choice. So come along with us for some tips on what to look for when buying a sailboat.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the last one. If you haven't, we're gonna probably link it somewhere up here, either of those sides. And yeah, today we want to tell you a little bit of a story about how we came to be buying our boat.
Yeah, and yeah, it had a little bit of a learning curve. There were things that we didn't know how to go about, and yeah, we want to share that with you. So if you're thinking about buying a boat, you have a little bit of a better idea of what to look for, especially as a beginner. If this is your first boat that you're buying, yeah, there are a few things that we thought you might need to know.
So, first thing, when? Yeah, so there's kind of two times, right?
Yeah.
There is the end of the summer, so that people don't have to renew their moorage and pay for additional moorage, or the beginning of the season. So just end of winter, early spring, when someone decides, I don't actually want to sail this year. Something came up in my life or something, and I don't want to sail. So those are the best times. Throughout the winter, you still can buy a boat, but there's probably less on the market.
Yeah.
And during the summer, well, a ton of people are actively using their boats, so it's unlikely that there's a lot of people selling boats.
We started looking in September, late August, early September. That's when we started looking, and we finalized it mid-October, I think.
Mid-October, yeah.
So
So it's gonna take a while to buy a boat. It's not like you just, I don't know, go to the store and buy it and you're done, right? Especially if you're buying a used boat, which if it's your first boat, I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah.
Buy something that is not too big for you, and not too expensive, because you will be making mistakes. So you don't want to make too expensive of a mistake.
Yeah, some people believe that it's better to buy a boat that you grow into, but for us, we preferred starting with a smaller boat that it's easier to dock, it's easier to handle, especially just being 2 people on the boat. So yeah, we also recommend starting with something a little bit smaller. And so yeah, if you want to buy used boats, there are few platforms that you can look on here in BC, Canada. We actually looked on Facebook Marketplace, mostly had a lot of deals on there.
Yeah, Craigslist, Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, for used boats sold by their owners. It's a good place to start. Private sales. If you are going with the broker, you might pay a little bit more. You can expect a little bit more. If you have the budget for it, feel free to go through a broker. I saw a bunch of brokers that also listed their boats on like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Go check them out. Don't ever buy something sight unseen.
Yeah, no, never. Even if it requires travel time, just go for it. It's worth the time and the effort. Yeah, so you can either go with a broker, as Andrea said, or buy from owner. I personally think that buying from owner can be a little bit better because it's just, you're getting it from offhand from the person himself or themselves, and you make a relationship with them. If it's a used boat, you can ask a lot of the questions that you have about the boat, the tricks on learning the boat, and overall, I think it's just a lot more real experience buying from the owner.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing to keep an eye on is when you're buying from an owner, they're always going to play up their boat. It's the best boat, everything is wonderful, there's no problems. But when you go look at a boat, really dig into things. Look at things without the owner. Look if there's rust somewhere, are there soft spots somewhere, are there, like, look in the engine compartment. Does it look really, really bad? Like, is there dirt in odd spaces? There's a lot that you can tell from how the boat was maintained. How, like, are the ropes on the boat in good condition? Are the sails in good condition? Is there anything weirdly loose somewhere? How's the wiring? Is the wiring all messy? And then really, like, explore the space. Is the boat big enough? Like, I'm 6'1". I need to have enough headroom in the boat, for example, right? Or if you want to sleep on the boat, is the place where you sleep big enough for you and your partner if you're buying something together?
Yeah.
So that's all things you want to consider.
Yeah, and one thing that can be an absolute deal breaker is if the engine does not work, or if it's a faulty engine. When we started looking for boats, the very first boat that we saw actually had an engine that was smoking. Yeah, right?
Yeah, it was an old engine, never replaced, original engine, old boat.
Old boat.
And it was raw water cooled.
Yes.
So if you are sailing in the ocean, in salt water, our recommendation is just stay away from any raw water cooled engine, because raw water in that scenario means you're sucking in salty water from the ocean into the engine, cooling the engine with that. All that salt corrodes the engine and makes the engine be in a really bad state. So freshwater cooled engines that have a cooling system with a heat exchanger inside, that's the way to go. Just especially if you're buying an old boat, you're just looking for trouble buying a raw water cooled engine.
Yeah, it's definitely a big red flag, and that was the first boat that we saw was a raw water cool engine. And because it's so expensive to replace the engines, sometimes you have to spend more than what the boat is worth just to replace the engine. So if the engine isn't good, then the boat might not be worth investing into. Or
you have to then make sure that the price of the boat is really, really low, that you basically plan, okay, this boat is, I don't know, X $1,000, and replacing the engine would cost another chunk. Is that chunk plus engine really worth the boat? That works too. Like if you're buying the boat really, really cheap and you know that the engine needs to be replaced, that's also an option. Just expect there to be a lot of work.
Yeah, and so those are some of the few things that you might want to look for when you're visiting the boat for the first time. Maybe going out for a test run might actually be a good idea too. Testing if the engine turns on well, and if there's smoke coming out or not. And once you see that, oh yeah, this boat might be a good choice. Yeah, it might be a good boat. Then the work has just begun. Because
the work has just begun. It depends on where you're located. Here, where we are in Vancouver, one of the hardest things to get is actually a place to put your boat. A dock where you can moor your boat is really, really hard to find. So most people here are buying boats with transferable moorages. Because, if you can't put your boat anywhere, why have a boat, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing to really look out for, and talk to the owner and make sure you verify that before you commit to anything.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure that you have a slip for the boat before you buy the boat, because where you can put it, let's be realistic. Yeah. And once that is sorted out, it's time to find a surveyor, right?
Yes. So one of the things you want to make sure, if you're buying a boat, you don't know how good everything is. You don't know all the details. So you need to find two people. One person that looks at the engine and makes sure the engine is okay, runs okay. So you want to have a mechanical survey done on the engine, oil samples, transmission check, all those kind of good things.
Yeah.
And then you want to have an actual surveyor that checks all the systems on the boat, checks the rigging, checks that there's no like
Leaks and
dangerous things that might sink the boat. Then you'll also want to haul out the boat. Hauling out means you want to take it out of the water.
yeah.
And the surveyor will look underneath the boat, will inspect the hull and make sure there's not something bad going on, that someone like drove into a rock and there's a big gouge in the hull or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those are some of the things you really want to make sure to get. It does cost money, it costs quite a bit of money, so be quite committed and don't like get a survey for every boat. You need to be sure. But do it.
Yeah.
It's worth the money afterwards. And if you want to get moorage, you usually also need to have insurance. You might think, well, my boat is not worth a lot. It's like an old boat. Why do I need insurance? It's not about the insurance for your boat. It's the damage that your boat can cause to others, right? Let's say your lines rip in a storm. Your boat drifts into this beautiful $2 million yacht. Who's going to pay for that, right? So that's where you need to have insurance on your boat, especially liability insurance, so that if something happens and you're being held liable, there's someone that can cover that.
Yeah, and a lot of marinas actually don't let you moor your boat there if you don't have insurance, because let's say your boat caught fire and it spreads to other boats. You need to be held accountable for that, so it's actually quite necessary to have insurance, especially if where you're living is hard to find a marina or moorage to stay at.
Talking about insurance, really make sure before you say you're going to buy the boat, before you put any money down, that you're getting insurance.
Yes.
You need to have an insurance quote that someone has been giving you that is like, yeah, you can have insurance.
Yeah.
Because it's like a chicken and egg. Without the insurance, you can't have the moorage. You also need to have some sailing experience. So thankfully for us, we've done our courses, we've done our sailing for about 2 years. That allowed us to get insurance.
Yeah. And having something like a skipper certificate that can prove that you have that experience especially helps with proving that you're a competent sailor.
Also, if you are buying an older boat, be aware that some insurances simply do not insure older boats.
Yeah.
So, especially if you're getting into the 40-year range of boats, start to get weary on the insurance.
And owning a boat always comes with the fun boat projects. No matter how new or old the boat you're buying, there's gonna be stuff that needs fixing.
Yeah, there's always maintenance. There's your normal maintenance that you just have to do.
Yeah.
Every year, every season, you have to do your oil filter changes and your oil changes, your diesel filters, all those kind of standard things to keep your engine running. You want to, every few years, depending on if you're moored in fresh water or in salt water, you want to take the boat out, give the hull a nice good clean. All those things are standard part of every boat owner's life. If you have an older boat, especially if you've gotten a survey and it's an older boat, the surveyor probably found a bunch of things. Tells you to do some wiring or bring something up to code that when the boat was bought by the previous owner maybe wasn't part of the code or wasn't required. So your insurance might ask you to actually do those things in order for you to stay insured. So that's, you have to do those projects. And of course, for us, our boat is a little bit older, 1983. So yeah.
Yeah, we have a few of those boat projects coming up. Just come along with us as we learn and share the skills and the lessons that we learned the hard way, so that you don't have to learn it the hard way, or don't be intimidated by the process. It might sound a little bit long, it might sound a little bit challenging, but it's all possible. You got this. Don't give up dreaming. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching our video. We are so excited to be making these videos for you. Yeah, make sure to watch our previous videos where we're gonna put right here.
Right there,
Right there.
maybe here and here and here and here.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below. What do you want to see? What can we do better? We love to hear from you.
This is Pepper. Wanted to say hi. Thank you for watching our video. Make sure to like and subscribe, right, Pepper? Yeah. Bye.